Well, I'm at a church now. I'm there is a graveyard here, but I'm not going out in the graveyard, and I'm not talking about the graveyard in this video. I'm at I'm at a church, and the church has been here for quite a while. But I mean, people have been putting up churches a whole lot of years. I mean, what was it? Just a few hundred years ago? Let's just say 400. 400 years ago, there was not a church building in the United States. Now, you drive around today and just look at the number of church buildings, and you would not think that they could build all these church buildings, just in the last 300 years. Now, there's buildings on the earth that you can go to, and these are old buildings. I mean, some of them may be 1,000 years old, but you don't have any 1,000-year-old buildings over here where I am. No, you don't have any 500-year-old buildings. You just don't. But anyway, the church that I'm, parked beside here is a brick building. So as I said, it's a brick church. And years ago, before there were any churches in America, there were synagogues. There were synagogues all over the place. I mean, there must have been probably a synagogue in most every town. And I read about the synagogue in the history book. And Jesus, whom I read about in the history book, went into a synagogue, and it was in his hometown, which wasn't, too far from Jerusalem. He could get to Jerusalem, from his hometown. And he went to Jerusalem, but he was in his hometown, and he had just had I don't know what kind of experience you would call it. I'm going to just call it, he had spent 40 days in the wilderness, and he hadn't eaten, and he was hungry, and he encountered the devil. And the devil asked him to do some things which Jesus refused to do. And the devil is still asking people to do things, And some people do what the devil asks them to do. I try not to do that. I have learned that doing, the things the devil wants me to do, that's not what God wants me to do. So I've just quit doing what the devil wants and concentrating on what God wants. And folks, what he wants is some people to understand that the things that his son, Jesus of Nazareth, who I was talking about, who met the devil in the wilderness, there's a book that you can get, and it's got Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in it. And if you will just read those, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will see what Jesus said. And if you get you one of the special Bibles, and you want to know what a special Bible is, that's one that's got red letters. It's got red letters in it and black letters. And the red letters, supposedly, most of the time, will be referencing Jesus Christ. Those were his words in red. And I just happen to have a Bible like that has words in red. But if you want to see what Jesus said, get you a Bible and read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And don't read a commentary, please.